Hi, welcome to the Diablo Podcast. We are online at diablopodcast.com, and this is a service of diabloincgamers.com. I am the host, Flux, and I am joined this week by Neinball.
Guten Tag.
And Wolfpaq.
Hello.
So we're going to talk about your recent Borg mind melding with Bashiok, Wolfpaq, first of all, and a little bit about recent beta stuff and plans for launch night, and talk about customization of Diablo 3 characters. And then I will explain why you are both wrong about everything you think, hope, believe, and wish to be true.
I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, so have you guys been playing any beta recently? That'd be Diablo 3 beta, not Panda beta, although that's, I guess, also another option.
Yeah, I've actually been playing a lot this last patch, trying to get Overachiever one last time.
You have multiple overachievers.
It'll only be my second time. I have a friend that went and has tried to get it like every single patch over and over again.
Does he leave his house at any point?
I don't believe so.
Probably for the best for everyone. Have you played any lately, Wolfpaq?
Yeah, actually, I have been playing because it just came to my attention that dual wielding with balanced weapons, which are the superior weapons with attacks per second on them, is insane. With both the monk and the demon hunter. So I've been trying to min-max my attack speed, and it's been the most fun I've had playing beta so far.
That's the most fun. More fun than the first week of the beta you were playing, and it was all new and exciting.
That's not. You're right. That was more fun. But
okay, that's your first live of the podcast. Moving right along. Have either of you guys been doing any hardcore lately?
I have not.
Nope.
Have you informed your family and friends that you are in fact a wimp?
No, but I'm drafting the memo.
Okay, good. You're saving that for the full game when it actually matters.
Of course.
Are you guys still enjoying it, though? I mean, obviously, Wolfpaq, you said you're getting into specialized equipment and min-maxing and stuff.
Oh, yeah. It's so much fun attacking it, because I didn't realize, I mean, I knew it sort of intuitively, but I had never sat down and seen the calculations done, that the monks' combos all have a passive attack speed boost on each one, and so... putting that together with two balanced weapons, which, by the way, when you're dual-wielding weapons with plus attacks per second on them, it applies to both weapons. Both of them does, which is kind of crazy. So you're attacking it well over 3 attacks per second, and it's so much fun. I'm killing everything so quickly, because you don't need the damage, right? It's beta, and you're over-level it anyway, so...
Yeah, because the low killing speed of the beta has really been a problem for...
Yeah.
All the characters.
Yeah, no, it's just been a blast, especially given how the difficulty has increased this year. Obviously, it's still not super challenging, but it's way more challenging than it was back in October of last year.
Yeah, I like that this year. We're referring to the beta test. You know what? It's damn near May.
That's right.
This year, the beta's been getting much better.
Yep.
Remember they were going to have a 2011 release and a quick beta test?
Yeah. Oh, man.
Yeah. Those were the days.
So you've been playing some also Lim Neinball, and you said you've also been playing Diablo 2 as a flashback?
Yeah, I'm actually playing at the moment. We're in Act 2, playing a hardcore live off the land, rule set, just as like one last celebration of D2 before we get into D3.
Well, you're pretty close to Duriel, so you'll be done soon.
Yeah, we already had one death in the party thanks to the Maggot Cave, and so he's off back re-leveling in a new game.
And that will also perfectly position you to offer counterfactuals to Wolfpaq later, as he's talking about every reason Diablo 3 is better than Diablo 2. Any last beta going out with a bang here? You're going to have it's the 28th of recording this, the evening of, and the beta's ending this month, so...
Yeah, I think the only thing that I have left is to farm up 10,000 more gold in order to finish off the last achievement that I need, and that'll be it.
Achievement which will immediately be wiped and will no longer exist in any way, shape, or form.
And
but
will not matter after May 1st.
Have you guys been doing the reveal stuff and getting your special sigils?
Yes. Yeah. Tuesday during my lunch break at work, I'll go and pop up one real quick. But it's like you don't actually need to upload a photo or anything. I just use the preloaded photo that they have on the website.
Do you feel that you're earning your banner with uploading a preloaded photo while at your lunch break?
Yes, I'm doing my part.
Above and beyond.
It sounds like you're hacking the sigil system. Okay, so our big topic for the show, Wolfpaq, you made a vociferous forum post, which had about 150 replies last time I checked, in which you detailed numerous features of Diablo 3 you think are big improvements over Diablo 2. And what was it called? Something like, take off your rose-tinted glasses, you goddamn hippies?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, that was your basic point.
Uh-huh.
Before there's been another forum thread that's been fairly busy lately about people who are allegations of sock puppetry. Paid forum posters from major companies like EA and Activision and others have been caught doing this in the past. Wolfpaq, are you in fact a paid informant of Blizzard Entertainment?
I wish. I am just speaking, calling it as I see it, as they say.
Would you admit it if you were?
No.
Are you in fact a paid informant, Mr. Neinball?
Myself, no. I don't get paid.
You just do it for free. First point you made. The bartering system of Diablo 2 was an amazing way to connect with the community. You disproved that in your comments, Wolfpaq.
Well, before I go into that, the very first point I made, which I want to make very clear, is that I absolutely loved Diablo 2. I played the heck out of it, and the post was not intended to be a let's all bash Diablo 2 post, because it was a really fun game that I enjoyed 12 years ago, and it continuing onward for way more than I've enjoyed many games. So. But yeah, so going back to the first official point, the first bullet point, I guess, that I wrote down, the Diablo 2 did not have a very good trading system at all. There were a couple ways to go about trading to be most efficient about it. The most efficient way that I found was to use a third-party site such as DiabloE.net and post your list there and see if you can get any takers. Which really is really bad design. At the end of the day, it's really bad design because when you're playing a game, you shouldn't have to turn to a website or another tool or another community and say to sell your items. The alternatives in-game were to spam in the trade channels, which were often full of people who were spamming more often than you, and to just join random games with the word trade in them and hope to God that someone in it has an item that you want and that they're willing to be a reasonable person about trading it to you. It was pretty abysmal.
Any thoughts on that, Neinball?
I mean, that pretty much hit the nail on the head.
Do you feel the Diablo 3 auction house has solved all those problems, or is it just better than what Diablo 2 had?
I don't think it's perfect by any means, but I feel it's far superior. I mean, the biggest problem by far with Diablo 2 was the lack of a consistent currency. And we could spend, I'm sure other people smarter than me could break down why it didn't. But the fact was gold, the established currency in-game, was not ever really used as a currency for trading. Diablo 3 seems to fix that. Now, I know there's a lot of people who aren't a big fan of the real money auction house, but the fact is Blizzard Bucks and in-game gold are two pretty stable and pretty reliable currencies that can be used to facilitate trade, which the last game was pretty sorely missing.
Just that in and of itself, even without having the auction house, would be a much greater improvement over what they had in D2, because even if you still had to rely on a third-party site, you can go someplace and look up what the actual value of something is. Otherwise, you're going and looking at a site where, you'll see, a Shaco is, worth a goal. Well, what does that mean? Now you can go and see that, like, the current on, like, US East, the current going rate of a Shaco is, 150,000 gold. Oh, that's something easily identifiable. I can actually comprehend that without having to go through, dozens of posts to try and figure out what the hell all these items are. And like Wolfpaq said, there's definitely room for improvement. Blizzard, if you're listening, I still cannot search for weapon damage on rings, or any other item for that matter. It's the best affix out there. That's what I want. Please make that happen.
People aren't real fond of the Diablo 3 chat interface at this point. People are like, well, I used to talk to people about trades, and it's like, no. Everyone spammed trades, and it was just bots and wug. But in theory, if you did want to chat and find items in a trading channel in Diablo 3, that would be difficult because the chat system isn't so great.
When they came out with the chat system in StarCraft 2, I really didn't think that they could ever create anything worse than that, and then they happened to outdo themselves in that respect with Diablo 3. StarCraft 2 is just that lack of sense of community. You log in, you have a UI, and then that's it. And now even, at least in there, when you go into one of the chat channels, you can see everyone's avatar that's in the channel, see if they're playing games and whatnot. Now you go in, you have to like make 3 clicks in order just to see the names of the people that are in there. You don't get to see their avatars or their banners or anything like that.
How does the trade system work in StarCraft 2? If you want to trade like 2 Zergs for a Reaver or something, is that an option in the game?
For that, trading
I have an extra siege tank I can let go cheap.
Trading units in StarCraft has a slightly different meaning.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe that'll be in the upgraded version. Maybe that'll be in the expansion pack.
Yeah. It'll be in the map store that comes out in Heart of the Swarm. There you go.
Yeah. You can get 2 Kerrigans for a Thomas Jane or something. I don't know. You can see how much StarCraft I play. Okay. Next point. Diablo 2's graphics were more dark and gothic. You seem to disagree with that assertion, Wolfpaq.
I specified the point. I mean, we got into this silly argument in the thread over what exactly Gothic is, but that's just beside the point. A lot of Diablo 2 was not dark, was not Gothic. In fact, I would say the majority of the game was not dark, was not Gothic, and we have not seen very much at all of Diablo 3, so we can't really judge yet, how much of it looks dark and Gothic. Now, we have seen some pretty spectacular footage coming out with these with the release sigil reveals, which looks pretty amazing. I mean, I don't know if that's the dark and Gothic that people are looking for, but I just want to say, we should wait and see before we say, there's no dark and there's no Gothic in Diablo 3.
As I'm playing through the Arcane Sanctuary at the moment, you have a whole bunch of gold and white skeletons with, bright red goatmen running around casting giant flaming walls, and there's these red and purple curses going off all over the place, and I've got little green balls floating around me as I explode things with fire. There's not a lot of darkness in this game.
That's not exactly the most prototypical Gothic level in the entire title, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Diablo 2 was very dark in some parts, especially people remembering Act 1 mainly. I mean, I've made the joke before, but during the Diablo 1 beta, the jail levels, Diablo 2 beta, the jail levels in Act 1, we used to call it the Braille, because the only way you could find your way through it was by bouncing off the walls until you found a doorway. I mean, it was just, you had to navigate by the mini-map, and they lightened it up during the beta process. I think they had like these super-powered video cards, and the end users had, god-awful ancient computers in 2000.
Yeah.
But, that wasn't really the ideal of darkness. It was, I can't see what the hell I'm doing here.
Yeah, and one other small point I was making within that bullet was that I really, really, really didn't like light radius. I thought it was pretty universal that light radius is the worst affix you could possibly get on an item, but apparently people disagree with me. But personally, I really did not like light radius because it was so inconsistent, and for every boss fight it was irrelevant.
Yeah, especially
in Diablo 2 especially. In Diablo 1 it was actually a pretty important factor.
Oh,
okay. In Diablo 1, though, didn't it also run as like a double-edged sword? Because that was also like the aggro radius that you would, not only would it increase like the distance that you could see, but it would increase the distance that the enemies could, reversely see you.
Yes, exactly. So it had a big effect on the game. If people played warriors in stealth mode if they possibly could in many cases. You would activate fewer enemies at a time, and you'd be closer to them when they activated, which made no difference whatsoever in Diablo 2, so it was pretty irrelevant. It was funny, when I was talking to Max Schaefer at one point last year, I think the whole topic of Gothic came up, and I was asking him what he thought about Diablo 3's look. And I was trying to describe what Diablo 2 looks like, and so everybody uses this word Gothic, and I'm like, what does that even mean? He's like, nobody knows. I mean, obviously it's got a dictionary definition of it as an architectural style, but it's just sort of become this adjective that's like hardcore, I mean, obviously hardcore actually means something in the game, but people say, I'm a hardcore fan of Diablo. It's like, well, what does that mean, There's infinite variations and levels of hardcoreness.
Yeah.
So I think Gothic has just sort of become a tagline almost. And, one man's Gothic might be another one's, doesn't shit bats. So, of course, the first big controversy of Diablo 3 was the it's too colorful thing. And that was right when the game first came out in 2008, when they revealed it. And, there were rainbows, and the Barbarian had, sparkle ponies and stuff, and people got very upset about that.
Yeah.
But it seems like it's gotten a lot darker since then.
Yeah, and that was actually one of the funny things. I think I mentioned this on an earlier podcast, is like when I went and first watched that debut cinematic or the gameplay that had the rainbow in it, I never even noticed it. It was like 3 months later, and a friend of mine at work was talking about, so what do you think of the color controversy in Diablo? And I was like, what are you talking about? And he pointed it out, and I'm like, I never even noticed it.
Do you want to be the one to make the joke about how he plays WoW, Wolfpaq, or should I do that?
You go ahead.
No, I just did, I think.
Okay.
I mean, Blizzard just addressed that. We have a whole article in the DiabloWiki.net. If you look at art controversy, just type that in and you'll get the page, and it documents all the the pros and cons and the debates about this. And Jay Wilson addressed that a few times and actually looked at screenshots. And we had all those screenshots. People were making them with like, they were playing with them in Photoshop and making it all dark and gloomy and green tinted and stuff. And Jay looked at a bunch of those during an interview and just said, well, this wouldn't work because you can't see the enemies, and this wouldn't work because it's not a dynamically generated shot. It's someone did it in Photoshop, and the light sources are all turned off, etc. So it seems like most people have just sort of, as we've seen more of the game, and Blizzard has added more grittiness and more details and textures and stuff, it seems like it's gotten more approving.
Yeah, and I mean, what BlizzCon was it where they announced the Demon Hunter, that the entire gameplay was of like the torture room, right? The Leoric's torture rooms, which I think...
Yeah, in 2010.
Yeah, I think that helped a bit.
Yeah, that was pretty gruesome. Very colorful, though, very red lit.
Yes. If anyone still had doubts, I think that the gameplay videos, the 3 or 4 minute gameplay videos we've been watching of each class as we're counting down to release, has put those to rest, because the environments just look awesome. Like Act 3 looks awesome. The I think we've actually seen a bit of Act 4, or I could be wrong, but places that look like they could be Act 4, which is also a good thing, It was a little bit of a concern to me when I first saw the rainbow screenshot, but it is something that I'm not caring about right now, based on those gameplay videos.
It seems that the color controversy spawned the Diablo 3 Secret Cow level update. Obviously, we're just speculating on this, but everyone's kind of assuming there's going to be like a rainbow pony killer cloud level kind of thing. And for your next topic on your big post, Wolfpaq, you had a 3A and 3B, even though they appear to be unrelated topics entirely. I'm not sure why they weren't 3, 4, and 5, but maybe you were only paid to write 4 topics by Bashiok that day.
No, in my head they were related, but go ahead, list them out.
3A is, you said, there was so much to do in Diablo 2 games that Diablo 3 games are boring.
Oh, right. I thought I'd seen multiple people say that Diablo beta games are boring, just run in and kill the Lich King, and I was like, what? Or not the Lich King, sorry, the Skeleton King. And I was like,
I thought that was part of your joke.
No, it was unintentional.
Y'all are making fun of me for playing WoW.
Yeah, building up to a big WoW insult there. Come on, I got my hopes up and everything.
No, but yeah, I mean, it's a beta. There's a hard cap 40 minutes into the beginning of Act 1 normal. There's not going to be a lot to do. I didn't get into the closed Diablo 2 beta, but I did play the Diablo 2 stress test, and there was far less to do in that, and you could only play the Barbarian, and the only bosses were the guy at the end of the Den of Evil and the Blood Raven, and I can't believe that people are getting this worked up over beta. I'm so surprised at this.
Well, people are just using it as a talking point because they either A, want to troll, or B, aren't happy with the direction that the game is going and are just looking for anything they can to make a point to stand on.
Yeah, I guess.
3B, which is closely related to 3A, Diablo 3's matchmaking system blows. D2's was much better and much more friendly. And by that, you're kind of talking about the game creation options, it seemed like.
Yeah, I was. And the reason I thought they were related is that because people seem like clearly, if you have a group of friends and you want to do stuff together, it's very easy. No matter what game you're playing, really, if you're coordinated on Vent or whatever chatting, you can get your stuff done. But one of the things that I saw brought up repeatedly is that the new Diablo 3 system will not let you meet new people, and when you get in the games, there won't be that much to do, so there won't be that much interaction. So that was why they were connected in my head, but you're right, they really should have been different points. Bashiok should have paid me a little more.
Well, maybe next time.
Maybe next time. Anyways, I mean, this was just saying that I like D3 matchmaking, and I got into that a little bit more in the thread, but I really like being able to say the quest I want, hit join, and boom, 4 people in the game with me, or 3 people in the game with me, and we're off all doing the same part of the same quest. And anyone who's played Diablo 2 can say there were times it was frustrating if you wanted to get that, if you weren't that geared, you wanted to get that Hell Act 4 cleared, it was tough to find a game with people on the exact same objective as you. And that's no longer going to be a concern now. And I'm not saying the Diablo 3 system's perfect, but I scanning that join game list was one of the most annoying parts of Diablo 2 for me personally.
Also, just like one of the newer features of like your friends list of being able to hop in your friends' games has been made so easy. You know, it's the first thing that you see when you log on. You look over at your friends list and you'll see the list of everybody that's playing, and you can just click one button, join their game. It's great.
Yep. And then you click their banner, and you're standing right next to them in 2 clicks, killing with them. It's awesome. No more TP, please. TP, please.
It doesn't force you to play only the quests that you're currently at. You can go back to previous quests. I mean, you don't have to just continue at this linear pace. You can say, hey, I really enjoyed that Act 2 quest. I'm going to go back and play it again, even though I'm way too high a level for it.
Oh, yeah.
And you'll join the game and tower over the tiny level 7 characters, and they'll look up at you like a god.
Aren't there level restrictions on that? I'm not sure.
I haven't seen them in the beta. So
yeah, not seen that at all. Even at level 13, you can still go through and replay saving Cain or going into the inn there at the beginning.
Yeah, you can start right at the start with that level with level 1 characters and completely ruin their play experience by killing everything before they can even look at it.
That's right.
Just like Diablo 2.
That's right.
Yeah, one of the things that I was thinking I didn't like about the system of Diablo 3 is that you can't just join a game and do what you want separately. But then, of course, that's a feature, not a bug.
Yeah.
You know, Diablo 2, we had 8-player games, and quite often there'd be 2 or 3 different groups, or possibly 8 different groups, all doing their own thing in different places. Because you got a huge bonus to experience, and you got a huge bonus to monster hit points, and you got a lot more drops. So it was fun to play with other people in the same game, even if you weren't in a party and in the same area. And in Diablo 3, you don't get a bonus to experience, you don't get a bonus to drops, and the monsters get harder, and the game is supposed to be hard in the first place, and there's only 4 players. So they really don't want you to be off doing your own thing. But, we keep hoping and saying and thinking that once we're not just, overpowering weak monsters up to level 8, you're level 15 and you're near the end of Act 1 or an Act 2 or something, you're going to need to play together or you will die. And if not on normal, then certainly on Inferno.
Yeah.
So one of the things people have complained about is that they can't create their own games and do what they want, but that wouldn't really have been viable anyway, at least according to what Bashiok has told us. Sorry, I get you too confused now.
Oh, yeah. We're the same person.
Your 4th point, Diablo 3 is missing Diablo 2's magic.
It's okay if that's your opinion, but that's not a reason to...
But you're wrong.
Well, it's not a reason to criticize. You can't say Diablo 3 sucks because it doesn't have Diablo 2's magic. I don't see that as a valid criticism. It's an opinion, right? I don't think that Diablo 3 has D2's magic. You're perfectly entitled to your opinion, but you're not entitled to say because of this opinion, Diablo 3 is bad or it's not a good game. I just don't buy that logic at all.
And by magic, you mean like intangibles.
Yeah.
You don't mean the actual magical system of Diablo 2.
Right.
And amongst your intangibles, you mentioned the crafting system, the friends list, skill points, characters deleted after 90 days of inactivity, the lying character screen, breakpoints, no respecs, and loot being click first, ninja looting.
Yes.
Those are all things you will not miss from Diablo 2.
That's right. I won't.
You're playing Diablo 2 right now, Neinball.
Yes.
Any of those things you're going to miss?
Not a single one of them.
Oh, hell. Okay, next topic.
But there was actually... I think it came up on like the second page. Someone like going through and mentioning like one of their responses to like the magic of Diablo 2 that I thought was pretty good is that when Diablo 2 came out, we were all younger. It's like there hadn't been any games like this that had really been out besides Diablo 1. There weren't any there weren't 3 AAA titles. There wasn't any like these huge mass marketing campaigns for video games. Every game that you picked up had a certain level of magic to it, which has just dropped over the years. Probably not so much because the game itself is lacking something, but we ourselves have gotten older and more cynical.
Yeah, and the industry's grown a lot too.
If they could see what was good in Diablo 2, and they could say, hey, we're going to improve this in Diablo 3, and what worked, they could keep the same, and what didn't work, they could change around. Earlier in Diablo 3's development, we often were talking about they were noobing things down and they were making it too easy and too casual friendly. Have you lost those concerns? You don't seem to be mentioning anything at this point that you feel has been dumbed down.
I am a little bit concerned, but the two biggest problems I had, and one of them happened recently, was when they simplified the tooltips, but they introduced a patch that, or what's it called, an option to say, don't show me these simplified tooltips, and so that completely fixes that issue for me. And then the other one was the locking of the skill categories and the poorly thought out elective mode when that first came out. But I mean, both of those they've handled, and those were the only two ways I could think of that the game's been dumbed down, and we'll have to see. Maybe we get through to Inferno, tons of people complain about how hard it is and they make it harder, but for now, from what we've seen, I'm content with the noobiness level of it.
So Bashiok's mom has done a great job in her playtesting.
Oh yeah, fantastic.
No, I think that pretty much sums up my feelings on it as well. I just think that I can't really make any decent judgments on the game at this point due to it being just only the early content in the beta. Once we get to Inferno mode and say Inferno's been cleared May 16th, then yeah, there'll definitely be arguments against the difficulty that they've been harking about so much. Otherwise, looking forward to having my teeth kicked in for a couple weeks.
And on your forum thread, Wolfpaq, you didn't just leave the turd floating in the punch bowl and vanish. You've been back interacting, and there's now 150 or so replies. Have you seen any counter-arguments in the rest of the thread that cause you to question some of your initial assumptions, or have you just been proven right repeatedly?
I mean, it's a matter of opinion. I've seen some opinions I didn't agree with, and I've seen some. I mean, the biggest point that I think I might have missed was people pointing out the whole magic thing, because they're right. That everyone's entitled to say, I don't think this game is as fun as the previous one. I don't think that the magic is there. So, maybe if you were expecting Diablo 3 to have the exact same magic that Diablo 2 had, then that could be a valid criticism. But I don't know. I still don't agree with it personally, but I could have left that point out and still been happy with my post.
Is any last thoughts on that thing, Wolfpaq, before we get into the other guy, before we get into the character customization?
Wolfpaq 2. No.
It's like when I do news posts, I say Bashiok and then not Bashiok. I can only remember Wolfpaq today, so you'll be the not Wolfpaq. Would you want to say anything there?
No, not really. I don't have anything to add in that.
Okay, moving right along. That's why you're the not Wolfpaq. You haven't talked much. We had a big news post about Bashiok, made about, I think, 14 replies in the same thread on the Battle.net forums. Must have been, maybe he was stuck in the bathroom on his smartphone, who knows, but talking about character customization, and this was shortly after the open beta weekend, which I meant to ask you guys about earlier and forgot. Did either of you, we'll just digress briefly, did either of you play much open beta weekend? Was it different having lots and lots of noobs?
It was a lot of fun being able to see a lot of my friends that had not been able to get into the beta playing it for the first time, especially at that point when, it was a much more shippable level and was a lot more difficult and wasn't just, even though it isn't terribly hard at this point, beforehand it was just like literally stupid easy. For them actually getting their hands on it the first time and playing it, that was just like really cool. Everyone just being like blown away by the game, and just the people who were interested in it but hadn't really been following it, and then they got the chance to play it and they're like, oh my god, this game needs to come out now.
Don't most of these friends of yours play World of Warcraft?
Yes.
But everybody who plays World of Warcraft already got a beta invite.
Wrong beta.
I mean, to Diablo 3, though. I mean, they were all playing it in September, while the actual Diablo fans in the Diablo community were waiting and watching, right?
Oh, I see.
I read that on the internet.
I see what you did there.
It's very meta.
How did you feel about it, Wolfpaq? Did you get any?
Yeah, I did. I really liked having a full friends list of all people I knew and being able to quick join, just hop around games. I can't wait. It made me really, really, really want this game to come out soon.
So Bashiok and the customizable story, he made a big comment about one of the main complaints we've seen about Diablo 3 still is that there's not that much character customization. And many people miss permanent skill assignments, they miss Skill points, they miss. Obviously, the stat points has been a big ongoing debate forever. Attributes, being able to actually customize those. And all that's been removed to make it easier to port to the console, so they don't have to have any skill or intelligence to play the game, right?
Yep.
That's what you think, Wolfpaq?
No. No, it is not.
Okay, so explain why Diablo 3 is better with character customization.
I don't think I'm going to say it's better. I was actually, one of my main points of contention with the Diablo 3 changes is that we can no longer assign stat points. I mean, yes, we can do it with gems, and I understand that that's the way the system's been redesigned, but I don't know. I liked having, points to spend when I leveled up. And that's probably just my nostalgia speaking. But yeah, I was a little disappointed. But as far as skills go, I am perfectly happy with how the skill system works. I love that I'm not going to have 8 sorceresses or wizards to play around with every single build I could want to try. They did the math. There's a stupid number of builds, and obviously not all of those are going to be viable builds, but still, the freedom to experiment is really, really important in a game like this. And I think Bashiok's point is pretty valid, of course, because he's paying me to say that. But when he says that permanent choices does not equal customization, and especially in regards to skills, I agree with that point.
Are you going to miss skill points? Are you going to miss attribute points? Are you going to miss not being able to respec?
Part of me is going to miss it just on the basis of kind of like that build identity. How you always had that that connection to the character, whether you were like a bone necromancer or a summon necromancer or like a kick assassin or a trap assassin or whatever, because you never really referred to yourself as just a paladin, as a hammerden, and things like that. Now there's not going to be as much of that. Although with the thing that they came out with, the Nephilim Valor is definitely going to help into that and make it to where your build, actually putting some thought into your build, is going to matter and is going to give you an advantage over the people that like to swap their skills every 5 seconds. I think that's the only real part that I'm going to miss about like the skill points and actually having kind of a solid build that you have to stick with. But the attribute points, yeah, that got them doing the auto assign is going to take away a lot of the headache. It's going to take away that illusion of choice of just dump everything into vitality or whatever the most powerful stat is going to be.
One thing they could have done, I guess I was thinking about the Diablo 1 system where you had attributes you could assign wherever, but they all had different max caps. So your choice was in terms of if you wanted to get more dexterity or more vitality sooner, kind of thing.
But at the end,
instead of ending up in the same place.
Yeah.
Whereas in Diablo 3, you're always at the same place forever, except for equipment, of course.
That's true.
But one of the things people have missed is just, it's fun when you level up in Diablo 2 or Diablo 1 or most RPGs. You get a button to click, and then you get to do things that makes your character stronger or faster or better or different. And just, you don't get any button to click in Diablo 3. You level up, and it tells you stuff has happened. And, sometimes you have a new skill or new runes to try out, which is obviously going to be fun the first time through the game, but of course you may never reroll, because why would you? But,
Yeah.
But you don't get that, ooh, shiny, I mean, when we were talking about quest rewards early on in Diablo 3's development, people, including myself, said, there has to be a quest reward that gives you a skill point, because that's so fun in Diablo 2. You just get that, that wow, and it's like, sweet, Tyrael gave me 2 skill points.
Yeah.
There's that thing that you always look forward to.
And you never get that in Diablo 3. You never get a skill point or a stat point or any, you get experience and gold. It's like, oh, great, I get that anyway. And one of the things that also was critiqued was the dead zone, the 30 to 60 dead zone once you stop getting new skills. And although Blizzard and Wolfpaq have never admitted this yet, we think that one of the reasons they redid the whole skill system was so the dead zone was gone. And now every single level from 1 to 60, you get at least 1 or 2, often 3 or 4 or 5 new skills or new skill runes or passive skills. And maybe that takes the sting out of not being able to play with your attributes, even though you're just going to put them on to vitality past level 45 anyway.
Yeah. That I think that has to go back to calling Azure just a
Dirty Australian.
Dirty Australian and a Psychic for being able to predict that one, like, almost exactly as how it ended up being displayed.
Yeah, let's not bring that up again, shall we? He's obnoxious enough as it is. Do you guys think we'll see cookie-cutter builds in Diablo 3?
Yeah. People are always going to want to find whatever is even if it isn't, the actual best build out there, they're going to be looking for whatever is most people claim to be the most powerful build and go with that.
I think we'll have cookie cutter templates. I think that the exact specifics of the builds are going to vary enough, or maybe not enough, are going to be different enough for you to be able to say, okay, so you have 6 skills, 6 skill runes, right? That's 36 combinations. I think within like 90% variation we'll have similarities, but as far as there being like one end all, I really think that there won't be. At least I'm hoping there won't be. I could totally be wrong, but this system just looks good enough to me.
That's going back to like the little disclaimer that I added. Even if it isn't going to be the actual like end all be all build, people are going to look for it regardless.
Yeah. If someone posts a video of them owning with a specific build, then a lot of people who are having trouble owning, they'll copy it and they'll see, oh, this works for me, but other people will have variations. I think that we won't have to use cookie cutter builds to progress, and that's something that excites me as well.
That's one thing that I'm going to be looking forward to, is just like that whole being able to discover your own build, find what works, especially in the beginning when there's not going to be anyone going and posting about it in the first couple of weeks about this is the only way that you can play, and going and joining public games and people, why are you using Wave of Light? That ability sucks.
Yeah.
People say that already just because it's a giant spell.
Yeah.
But
I concur, by the way. That ability sucks.
Aw, come on, I love that. It's my favorite skill. That's why I'm playing a monk.
I think there's 2 issues on the cookie cutter thing, and you guys kind of mentioned them both. It's that there's a difference between will people duplicate builds, monkey see, monkey do, and should they, or is that the best choice? And I'm absolutely positive we will have massive amounts of cookie cutter imitation. Somebody will post a build that works. Here's my 3 main skills and runes. Here's what the ones I like. Here's my 2 supports. And other people will immediately respect to that and say, oh, this works. I'm going to stick with this kind of thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that will probably not be the best skill. People will find new combinations and new variants, and it'll depend on how you play and your strategy and what areas you're fighting in, etc. And obviously your equipment, and there's 45 other factors that Bashiok told me to mention. But you'll get all those together, people will definitely copy. That happened wildly in Diablo 2. Everybody played, Burazons or Hammerdins or whatever because they worked. And even if that wasn't the best and they weren't playing it that well, they still did it because it's easier than trying to do the experimentation. And that horribly depresses me in many ways because, we were all talking about, we want all these options and all these cool features and you want to experiment and find your own builds. And it's like, well, why don't they just put 8 skills in the game and, you have to use this, this, and this because here's what works.
Yeah.
It's like, it's all the people who are clamoring for a different skill UI and don't like the elective mode. And then it's like, well, just turn elective mode off. You'll have to play it normally. That'll force you into a cookie cutter build.
Yeah.
And that's what you'll want anyway, so.
It solves all your problems.
In other words, I'm right, they're wrong, end of story.
That's how I like to end debates.
Next topic.
Well, the beauty of other people is that if they weren't wrong, you wouldn't be able to be right.
Exactly.
So if there was no one else, then you'd just always be wrong or right by yourself, and that wouldn't be as much fun.
I mean, I'd always be right by myself.
Oh, but how would you know? There's no alternative.
It's like a philosophical discussion now.
Exactly. What's the sound of one wolf clapping? So, can you briefly tell us the current state of the World of Warcraft skill trees Neinball? People are saying that they're copying how World of Warcraft works in terms of respecs, but I think do you feel like they've learned? One of the things Bashiok was saying was that World of Warcraft is much like Diablo 2, and that there are certain best builds. Everybody, there's a ton of abilities, but everybody uses the same 3 kind of thing with each build.
I think it's actually even worse than Diablo because you really do, if you're going to play like one particular class, there's only one real path that you can take down the talent trees. You really don't have much of a choice. You have to take almost every single skill in that talent tree in order to progress all the way down. and then you do end up with only a few extra points to spend in like the other talent trees or for other like little utilities, utility talents and such. And those last few talent points really don't matter at all. That's actually an interesting point because in the Mists of Pandaria, they're going to be going to a very Diablo 3 type talent system, where they're getting rid of all the skill points, and it's just when you hit a certain level, you unlock a new tier of talents, and you pick one out of the 3, and can swap it at almost any time that you want to without having to go back to town to a trainer to respec you.
They've been quite forthright about saying they're making changes in World of Warcraft to make it more casual friendly, to make it you don't need to invest 50 hours a week to keep up with your characters and the raids and stuff anymore.
Yeah.
And they're changing skill systems and game mechanics to match that. And these are, as you just said, very similar in some ways to the game mechanics of Diablo 3.
Yeah.
Which would seem to be another way of saying that Diablo 3 has had casual friendly game elements.
There are some casual friendly game elements.
So the sense of Diablo 3 is that there will be so many possible skills and so many possible builds that provides character customization, even though you can switch between them anytime you want and follow the cookie cutter to the new build, and there's no points put in them. I was talking to Azure about this the other day, and he is a huge fan of the Diablo 3 skill and rune system, quite possibly because the exchange rate is lower in Australia and it costs less to bribe him than it does to buy Wolfpaq. He was going on and on about how there won't be any cookie cutter builds, and it will be wonderful and perfect in every way.
Yes.
And he doesn't think that we'll miss skill points at all. And he thinks the Diablo 3 system is essentially perfect. And now that I've totally mischaracterized all of his comments when he's not here to defend himself, do you think that there could be? Obviously, we don't want to get too much into theory crafting, but it seems like they could have some way to add a little more customization in Diablo 3. One of you guys mentioned we have that Nephilim Valor altar cube. What the hell is it called? Arcane's Valor. I kept wanting to call it Nephilim Valor, which gives you a bonus to your magic find on each boss you kill if you don't change your skill build around.
Yeah.
That seems like they experimented with the system. Everybody was constantly respecing, and they said, this kind of sucks. What can we do to make this not so respec friendly? We'll tack on this other system at the end of the game that only matters in Inferno. So if I have a question somewhere in this endless digression, it would be, can you envision a system in Diablo 3, say there were if there were limited skill points? It wasn't, obviously the Diablo 2 system was kind of bad because either you maxed out skills or else they were one-point wonders and, very little in between. But can you envision them at some point in adding a little more customization? Say there's 3 skill points per skill and you've only got 10 skill points total, something like that. Or would everybody just end up with their 3 main attack skills maxed and then the one other point wouldn't matter like World of Warcraft?
I think the only customization they're going to do beyond what we've seen so far is what we found in the theory crafting, which is that gear gives boosts to your skills. Obviously we have no idea what the gear is going to look like right now, but what we have seen is that it looks like it's going to be pretty specific. You're going to have one piece of gear, and you're going to have a piece of gear with like bonuses to one skill, or maybe bonuses to two skill. You're probably not going to be able to find a piece of gear with bonuses to 6 different skills, which means, assuming that it's rare and like a legendary only affix and things of that nature, that in order to customize, you are going to have to pick your skills around your items, just like with stat points, you're going to have to pick the stats you want to buff by your gems.
You could also pick your items based on your skills. Right. Because they have added in new skill, affixes into the game, where if you use this item, you'll get like a crit % chance on the Holy Bell, or you'll reduce the Fury cost of Whirlwind, and so on and so forth.
We may just end up carrying around 50 pieces of equipment, and you'll change it whenever you change your skill.
Yeah, well, some of them are actually like you can get up to like plus 14% damage on some skills, which could be a pretty significant increase.
What are you guys planning for Diablo 3's launch? It's coming up in just over 2 weeks, launch night. Are you gonna midnight openings? You're on the East Coast, Neinball, so it'll be 3 in the morning before you can connect to the realms. I'm guessing that's probably a little late for you to stay up to start powering through the game.
Are you kidding? This is Diablo.
Are you taking the day off of work the next day?
I took the week off.
Took the week off. Wouldn't it be better to time it so you wake up at like 2:45 and then you're fresh and ready to go for the next 37 hours?
Well, we do have to go. We do have to go to the store in order to pick up a copy because Kat, the missus, she does not play WoW, so she doesn't have a digital copy. She's gonna need to get her collector's edition, from the local GameStop. So we will be going to like the midnight release in order to pick them up, and then we'll have time to, come home and install it. And either take a quick power nap or just prepare some food and whatnot for the 3 o'clock when the servers go live.
And what are you planning on, Wolfpaq?
It depends. I pre-ordered mine.
You're on the West Coast for people who don't know, so you're at midnight.
Yeah. Either I'll be playing my wife's copy at midnight since she's not nearly as excited about it as I am, helping her level up one of her characters, or Amazon will have come through and delivered my copy the day before, which I hear sometimes happens, and I'll be playing my account. Either way, I'll be playing at midnight, but I did not take time off work, so I will need to be in bed, before it gets too late.
You have chosen poorly.
Yeah.
What possible job can be more important than Diablo 3 playing? What are you, a heart surgeon or something? Is a little boy gonna die?
No.
Yes, of course he will.
Boy will not die. I'm a software engineer.
Oh boy, that'd be horrible. Be all those bugs in Microsoft. Oh wait.
When Skynet comes sentient, you'll be glad that he went to work.
Yeah, that extra 6 hours of Diablo 3 he didn't play destroyed the world. That's great, Wolfpaq.
That's right.
Thanks. What are you guys going to be doing to avoid spoilers, or do you not care? Because as we know, the European get the launch first. So basically, at 2, 3, 4 p.m. in the Pacific U.S. time zone, people in Europe will be playing Diablo 3, whereas we have to wait 8 or 11 hours later, even, depending on where you are. Are you guys going to be locking yourselves away from the internet to avoid seeing all the act bosses on live streams and such?
I will not be purposely going out and attempting to find any of that information, which probably means that Monday I will not be on Ink Gamers if you guys plan on making any news posts from stuff, coming over from, across the pond.
Oh, we're going to have live streams of the entire game as soon as it starts. I mean, Ellie and Paul are in the UK, so it launches at midnight there.
That's awesome.
So I will see you all later then.
Yeah, a lot of people are saying that, including some site staff, actually.
It shouldn't even really be all that surprising because, although I've gone through and I've read almost every single spoiler under the sun, it's a lot of it is like actually just theorizing and looking at the actual game data versus actually seeing it in the game and everything, realized and the actual text and cinematics and all other types of stuff and the audio events that we can't get from the data mining and what we've received in the beta. So there's still, even though I'm pretty sure of the story, but there's a lot of stuff that I don't want confirmed before I actually go and start playing it myself.
Do you guys have plans for your first characters in Diablo 3? Have you decided who you're playing first?
Yeah, I'm playing a monk. That'll be my first character that I play through.
Have you always been thinking monk first?
Originally, no. The wizard was looking as like the class that I'd like to play, especially after the monk was initially released. I didn't really like it, but it was after the 2010 demo when they kind of reworked it and gave him a spirit instead of mana that it really took hold for me. And I've ever since being able to play the beta itself, just kind of reaffirmed my decision to play the monk.
How about you, Wolfpaq, on your favorite character, on your character choice?
It's looking like it's going to be Demon Hunter.
The few, the proud.
Yep. Can't get over my love of being ranged.
Obviously, you haven't had this choice for long because that was the last character introduced. Were you waiting all through 08 and 09 and 010, waiting for finally the ranged character?
It's my obsession with attack speed. I'll be honest with you. The Demon Hunter gets the fastest attack speed weapon in the game.
A Demon Hunter seems to me to be hands down the fastest character at level 13 in the beta, if only because you have Vault.
Yep, Vault plus tactical advantage is all you need.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you play like a barbarian or a wizard or something, especially a barbarian, because you have no ranged attacks really, except for whatever that hammer thing on the ground is you finally get, which is fun.
Right.
But you just, I mean, you can jump, but only once every 8 or 10 seconds, and you feel like you're running in quicksand.
Yeah, you really do.
If you play in a multiplayer game with a demon hunter, you just kind of you catch up in time to see the corpses. Usually, it's like, oh look, another screen of completely cleared before I even got there.
See, I want to be that guy, the guys whose corpses you just found.
And someday you will. In 2 weeks, are you guys gonna? How far do you plan on playing your first characters? Are you gonna go all the way to 60, or just go through normal, and then you're gonna try something different?
I'm gonna take it to 60. Definitely, at least get through hell. I don't know if I'm going to attempt to try and go into Inferno before I roll my second character, or focus more on getting that up. I'm not sure.
How about you, Wolfpaq?
I concur. I don't want to stop until I'm done with not done with Inferno like Neinball said, but definitely 60.
And do you think that'll take you like 2 days or 2 weeks?
Probably closer to 2 weeks, sadly.
Really? You're going to be content playing just one character for 2 weeks?
I don't know.
You're going to see all these videos on YouTube and all these screenshots of all these awesome high-level skills and rune effects, and you're going to see other players in games playing other classes?
I think I will be able to hold myself back.
I guess that will really come down to, one, depending upon the gear that I find, like if I'm, going through and manage to get a wind force drop on my monk.
You'll give it to me, right?
Yeah, of course.
Kat will actually be playing a demon hunter her first time through, so I think if anything, it's going to go to her. So I have to hide it. I have to hide it from her when I go to roll my demon hunter. But yeah, I'll at least be able to hop onto her account and mess around with that after she's gotten her demon hunter to 60, see how I like it and such. But I guess it will really depend on how difficult Inferno really is. If Inferno is shaping up to be like taking a week or more of gearing up in order to actually go through and defeat, I'll probably go back and start rolling other characters just to get one of each class up to 60 to try out before I really attempt to tackle Inferno. And there's something that Bowser loves to mention in a lot of the live streams that he's been doing over on the Ink Gamers live stream channel, is that any group with a monk is a better group.
Yep.
Yeah, the only character with any kind of shared skills, really.
Yeah, even though they've taken all the mantras beyond the level that you would acquire in the beta, they're going to make a huge difference in group play, and even just being able to have like the blinding flash for crowd control, or breath of heaven, and all the rune effects of a whole bunch of other skills like cyclone strike and such for the instant heals is going to be pretty nice. Yeah,
that and the crazy damage buffs. I mean, you're going to have. Well, I guess that is a mantra, but you have the damage amplification, and then if you can train your team to gather around for a breath of heaven, and you take the guiding light, that's a 16% damage buff for the entire party, which is pretty amazing. I don't think anyone else can do that and maintain it. The Witch Doctor has a very powerful buff, but it's in their voodoo dance, but it's very temporary and has a long cooldown.
It's not Diablo 2 with battle orders and the Oak Sage and stuff where you could so easily get 200-300% increase of hit points, but we don't know what kind of stuff we'll get on items. They've said they're not going to have plus skills on items, but I guess it's not impossible. We might see some items that lend buffs to the whole group.
Yeah, or
I wouldn't count on it though.
Yeah, possibly something that just leverages passive skills or things of that nature.
Okay, any final thoughts, guys?
No.
2 weeks. 2 weeks to go. Are you ready?
My body is ready.
You've been listening to the Diablo podcast, and we are online at diablopodcast.com. Bye.
Ooh.
Last weekend of beta.
Last weekend.
Wug.
It's finally over.
Wug, 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 wug.